First thing we need to do is remove this clip. We're now going to remove the two screws, and they sit at the back here. This is the back of the caliper. First of all, we just remove these two seals. Just slide the pin out. The top one. And before we take that out, we just attach a bungee cord to the cord top. So we've still got the top pin in, got a bungee cord so that we can support the caliper when it actually comes off. So that's the second pin out. Just going to ease back the piston, which should give us a disconnect the ABS wire. Ease that. Just ease that off. Just attach these cords. Take some of the weight off. Now we can remove brake pads. Okay, what we're going to do now, we've got a hard edge scraper. Just going to remove some of the corrosion from the contact points. So that when we put the new pads in, they're free to move. Some brake cleaner to remove the dust. In no circumstances do you use an airline. What we're doing is we're doing a pre-assembly just to see if they're free to move. And I can feel that there's still a little bit of contact on the edges of the pad. So these are the brake pads. What I'm going to do is take a file. The contact areas are here and here, here and here. I'm just going to remove some of the flash from the pads. Just to ensure that the pads are free to move. They don't seize up in the future. It is a very, very small amount of material that we remove. In the second assembly now, the direction is much smoother. The use of any anti-squeal compound or any lubricants that are anywhere near brake systems, got to be very careful about the application. I use a very, very small brush. We're using copper anti-squeal. That's applied to the tip, that other contact point, making sure that we're applying this from one side only, and that my hand, my clean hand, keeps the grease as far away from the friction material as possible. That will pop this onto the caliper. Here we've got the caliper. The piston's a fair way out of the caliper, so we're just going to ease that back in using a set of large grips. You can do this when you take the prods out by using a screwdriver. I find this more controllable, and make sure that the piston goes back square. Previously we took some of the fluid out of the master cylinder to make sure that the fluid doesn't leak when we squeeze the excess fluid out from here. Applying a little bit of copper slip, anti-squeal, and piston face. This is one of the trickier operations, which is putting the brake pad, which has retaining clips, they retain inside the caliper. I'd use a screwdriver just to push the clip in very, very slightly. Same thing again, we now double check there is no anti-squeal compound on the face of the pad. Small amount of anti-squeal on the pad back. This is where the caliper will come in contact. Let's get rid of these bungee cords. Caliper this swings round. Just put one of the retaining pins in loosely. Okay, we're just reversing the process now, so I've put a small amount of anti-squeal compound on the actual shaft itself, but not on the threads. It pops back into place. These pins are a 7mm Allen key, which is incredibly hard to find on a socket. It's just nipped up. The seals are now replaced, and this ABS wire is returned back into its clip. You've got to be very careful sometimes if you forget this. Try and pull the caliper up, you can break this wire quite easily. It's a very expensive component to replace. Okay, we're going to put this retaining wire back on. I found using a pair of vice grips makes the operation a lot easier. So we insert the top wire quite deep in, and if I apply these vice grips to the second edge, just push that into the hole, and then I can use the vice grips to twist the wire so that we get it to pop over that edge. Once it's in, just tap it on, making sure it's nice and secure. Final thing is we can see corrosion starting to build up around this area. This is where the aluminium reacts badly against the steel. Ultimately you can get a build-up of corrosion and oxide, usually aluminium oxide, and it will freeze the wheel onto the hub. If you're doing a wheel change at the side of the road, you can end up in a situation where you take the wheel nuts off, but the actual rim will not come off because of the corrosion. Same thing again, we're using a small layer of copper slip. Other compounds out there you can use, there are ceramic anti-squeal compound, there's also aluminium. They've all got their pluses and minuses. The smart money seems to be heading in the way of ceramic, but it is prohibitively expensive at the moment. Aluminium's good, but same thing again, aluminium will react against the steel. So I prefer copper. Now we're ready to put the wheel back on. Okay, I've wire brushed the inside face of the alloy. Make sure we get rid of all the corrosion. Preloaded the bolt in the socket. Makes it much easier to locate. Once we've got one in, we'll go in diagonal. Diagonal again. I'm going to be using an impact gun to tighten this up. Impact guns have forward and reverse. Reverse, you get full torque. Impact guns have a forward and reverse setting. For unscrewing, running anti-clockwise, that's full power. In the clockwise direction, so to put nuts on, there's a torque setting on this, and you can hear the difference in the. It's much less torque when you're putting it on, and it is literally just to nip the wheel down. Diagonally again. What we finish off the process with is a torque wrench. diagonally. You can see because the torque wrench is actually moving that we're actually applying the correct amount of torque. If, when you put this on, it didn't move, it just bleeped, you should really undo it and then tighten it back up again. Just making sure you've got all these. That's how to sit, that's how to fit a set of brake pads.